Hey everybody, this is Yosarian from BoyMeetsPhone.com, and what I have here today is the Pantech Discover from AT&T. This is the first LTE Android phone to be released this year from the company, and it's only $50 on contract. So the question becomes, can you get good performance out of a wallet-friendly phone? Watch my review to find out. The Pantech Discover is well suited to compete against many of the other smartphones in AT&T's lineup. Up front we have a 4.8-inch high-def display, so that's at a resolution of 720 by 1280. On the bottom we just have a Pantech logo. There are no capacitive buttons on this device. This uses the on-screen buttons, just like a Nexus device. Right here we have the main mic. Above the display, we have the earpiece grill. There's a proximity and ambient light sensor. And right here we have a 2-megapixel front-facing camera. On the very top of the device, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, a notch to pry off the back cover, and we have the power and screen lock button. It's nicely defined, it doesn't stick out too much, but it is easy to feel out and offers good feedback. On this side we have the volume rocker, which, thanks to the fact that it is raised, is easy to feel out and offers great feedback. You also have these speakers. Unlike many other devices which have their speakers on the bottom or on the back, around this side, the speakers on the Pantech Discover are right on the sides. There's one right here and there's one right here. So it does produce clear sound, and it also makes it so you don't have that muffling. It doesn't sound muffled when you put it down because the speakers are facing outwards. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that a little later. On the bottom here we have the micro USB port. Taking a look at the back, we have a 12.6 megapixel autofocus camera with a single LED flash and a microphone for stereo recording. Not much else on the back besides the AT&T logo and this nice Pantech logo. So I'm going to pry off the back cover here. It does take a little prying to actually get it off, which can be a good thing. Alright, taking a look at the back cover, right here we have the NFC antenna. This phone does have NFC, and there's the contact point, and there's a contact point on the phone. We have a 1250 milliamp hour battery here. We have the micro SD card slot right here, and the micro SIM card right here. As far as the micro SD card, you can expand it up to 32 gigs as far as I remember. You can see that this is made mostly out of plastic. We have a water sensor right here. Overall, I have to say that I like the design of the Pantech Discover. It has this nice wave pattern on the back. Notice how it goes like this and curves up. It serves two purposes. It leaves it room for the antennas and also leaves room for the camera, but it also leaves you with a phone that feels really nice and natural in the hand. Actually, it's a pretty nice phone to hold. It's really light and it fits comfortably in the hand thanks to those curves. The back is textured. You can see it. See if focusing. You can see it has this textured pattern on it. It doesn't help much with keeping it from slipping. I haven't found that it's made it any less slippery than a phone would normally be. It does feel nice in the hand. So overall, I have to say I really like the design and the feel of the Pantech Discover. The display on this phone has two things going against it. For one, whites tend to have a bluish tinge to it, and it's especially noticeable during white, but all images are going to have a slight blue tint to it, which means that you're not getting the most accurate colors. But what's more bothersome to me is the viewing angles. Even at a slightly off angle, you start losing your color integrity. I'm going to show you a test to give you an example. Now, with this test, when you reach your maximum viewing angle, it turns darker. So right now it's a light pale color. The darker it gets, that means the closer you're coming to your maximum viewing angle. If I move this slightly off angle, you notice it immediately becomes darker. So even looking at this at even the slightest angle, you start losing your color integrity, which is annoying because you don't always look at the display straightforward. If you're walking and looking down at your phone, you tend to have it at a slight angle. If you're sharing what's on your display with somebody, you're going to have it at, they're going to be viewing it at an angle. So the only way to get completely accurate colors for this display is to look at it dead straight. No angles, looking at it as straight as possible. And that can be slightly annoying with a phone, especially with a huge display, which you might want to share things with people. The Pantech Discover is running Android 4.0.4 Ice Cream Sandwich with a customized UI over it. There are a couple interesting things with the UI. For one thing, you can swipe or use the bar on the bottom to navigate between your panels. Like a lot of custom UIs, you have quick access to your settings through the notification drop-down, such as vibrate, GPS, NFC, Bluetooth, motion recognition. We'll get into motion recognition a little bit later. Also change turn data off, turn your mobile hotspot on and off, and turn auto rotation on and off. As far as notification goes, you can either tap them to view them or like that to dismiss them. Because this is running Ice Cream Sandwich, you don't get the expandable notification, but this will be seeing Jelly Bean at some point in its future, so expect to have expandable notifications at some point during the life of this phone. On the launcher bar on the bottom, you have your 5 icons, the one to jump into the apps, and then you have your whatever custom icons you want here. You can rearrange them. Say you want that here. Say I don't want that there. I can just drag it up there and rearrange them to any direction I want. Well, don't do that. You can also swipe to add more icons on the bottom. So it adds an extra level of customization and extra room, so you can add widgets and stuff like that onto the top of the display. And then on the launcher bar, you can put all of your icons, which is kind of cool. Gives you more space for widgets. Tapping the menu button right here will bring you up to your customization menu, so you can add widgets, change the wallpaper. I like how this is because you can view your panels while you are doing this. The only thing is, I wish you could add panels while doing this. You can't add panels. So say I want to put this up. I can't add another panel from this view. So that would have been nice, but overall I do like how this handles the customizations. You can also change your wallpaper from here. And it gives you a view of your live wallpaper, the wallpaper on the device, and then you also have your gallery. There's a decent amount of live wallpapers available out of the box on this device. Some pretty cool ones. Paper art. You have the My Planet one. So some pretty cool live wallpapers available right out the box. Jumping down to the bottom, you have your on-screen buttons for back, home, and multitasking. But if you hit multitasking, you also have some options that might seem familiar to those who've seen the TouchWiz Nature UX on the Galaxy S3 and the Galaxy Note 2. You can do things like play videos while you're navigating the device. So say I'm going to play this sample video. So you can watch videos on your device while navigating, which is pretty cool. But you also have the option, close that out, of playing music and adding a notepad, so you can take notes while you are in the app. So those two little added features gives you some nice features that you don't get on other devices. be able to quickly take notes when you're in an email or looking at something online. It's nice to be able to have and quickly access, and I like how they did it on this device. Going into the app drawer, the app drawer is set up similar to what you would find on any other ice cream sandwich device, except for the fact that you don't have access to your widgets from here. You can also add groups. You can change it to an alphabetical list, or you can just view your downloads. You can add different groups, so you can create different folders. So let's say that's, I'm going to say stuff. So now I have a folder on top here that I can add stuff to. So I like being able to customize things like that, and it's cool that you can change the color. So if you want to quickly remember what's in something, you can color code it. It's kind of like a filing system that you would, see on in a file cabinet. So that's nice. You can edit from here. So you can also delete and disable apps from here. So I'm going to delete something I downloaded, so I'm going to find something I downloaded. I'm going to delete speed tests, so you can uninstall, get the info, and you can also hide it from the app drawer from here. As far as onboard applications go, I'm going to go to the front. You have the Pantech Easy Mode, which we'll get into that just a little bit. You have a few AT&T apps like Code Scanner, Drive Mode. Drive Mode, this is the first phone to ship with Drive Mode. We'll also talk about Drive Mode a little bit later in the review. We have Family Map. We have the AT&T Locker, AT&T Navigation, AT Ready to Go. We have Smart Wi-Fi. Kindle comes on board on this device. Chrome was pre-installed on the Discover. You have their live TV. Let's see what else. You have My AT&T for account access. You have Yellow Page Mobile. So that's it for things that come from AT&T. Pantech also gives you things like a conversion app, or converter app, sorry. See what else? Oh, sorry, I forgot messaging. Messaging is from AT&T. That is a aggregator, and aggregates all your messages to one area. So your voicemail, your inboxes, your text messages, aggregates it to just one area instead of separate apps. You have your music player on board. You have a pill reminder, which is kind of cool. So if you take medicine, you need to remember having a reminder telling you when to take it. You have it right there. You have Smart Voice, which is kind of like their answer to
"What can I help you with today?"
What's the weather in Tokyo? And this becomes an issue. Watch what it does.
Here is the weather for Tokyo.
Oh, see, it actually worked this time. Actually, the first few times I tried this, when I asked for the weather in Tokyo, it kept giving me the weather where I am. It seems to finally fixed that bug. I'm not too sure if it was. I'm pretty sure it was server side. If now it's working, because I didn't get an update to the phone. But I was having issues when I first tested it. It's when I was saying things like, "Give me the weather in London, England." See if the London, England works now. Give me the weather in London.
Here is the weather for London.
Yeah, earlier when I was testing it, it had issues with giving me the area I actually asked for. When I had asked for London or Tokyo, it would actually just give me the weather here. But it seems that it was a server-side issue, and it's now fixed, so that's good to see that it actually now works. You can also send text messages using this. You can add reminders to your calendar. So it's kind of like S-Voice. And now that it seems to be working properly, it's actually a good thing. Let's see. What else? You have Think Free Office. You have a tip calculator. You have a voice recorder, weather. You also have the Pantech web browser, which we'll get into that later on in the review. For now, I'm going to show you the Pantech Easy Mode. Alright, now we're going to take a look at Easy Mode. You do have two different mode options here. You have the standard mode, which is Android as most people know it, and then you have Easy Mode, which is for people who are either new to smartphones or find navigating around Android how it normally is slightly confusing. So if I tap the Easy Mode, and I get this saying that it's going to change from standard mode to Easy Mode, the lock's going to be affected, everything's going to be affected by this, including the font sizes and things like that. So now I'm in Easy Mode. You only have this one panel. You can't swipe anywhere. You have your time, the calendar, the date and everything, the weather. You have quick access to your web, quick contacts. You can add contacts that you want to be able to just tap and call. You have shortcuts to apps, which you can add apps here. So whatever apps you use the most, you have quick access to. And you have these nice large icons for phone, camera, message, and your menu. The menu, you'll see, also changed. It's a lot simpler, straightforward to see. Games and apps are in one folder. You have your web there. Tap that and open the camera. You have your tools. So it's a lot more straightforward. Also, the lock screen has changed. I'll show you that. The lock screen on this is now a light switch. Flip it up and you'll unlock the phone. So again, it really does make things a lot easier. The drop-down notification has also changed. You have larger icons. You also have your number displayed on it, which is one of the reasons I'm not going to pull it down, because you don't need to know the number on this phone. But you have very large display. It's a lot of information easily accessed, which is nice to have. The lock screen on the Pantech Discover is simple, straightforward, and customizable, which I do like. You can simply tap this, and it says drag the icon here, drag the icon there, and once you let go, it will say OK, and launch into whatever icon you have up here. So this is customizable. Unlock that again. So you can change to whatever apps you want to have quick access to, but you're always going to have that unlock app there. So you can drag that there, and if I drop it there, it says OK, and it is now unlocked. So I like how that is set up, and Pantech did a good job on the lock screen on this device. As far as input goes on the Pantech Discover, you have three options. You have the standard Android keyboard, which, despite the color change, is the standard Android keyboard. It is colored to fit into the theme of the device. A lot of the menus are gray and white and off-white. So the coloring fits in with the menu scheme, but other than that, it is the standard Android keyboard, including the ice cream sandwich voice input, which so right now it's having an audio problem. I'm not quite sure why. Let's try that again. That's probably because I was covering up something, but as you can see, while I am saying this, it is transcribing it. Period. This only works if you have a strong data connection. Period. If you have a weaker data connection, it may take a little bit longer for it to transcribe, but it will work, but it will not work at all without a data connection. You also have Swift key for Pantech. It looks pretty much like the same as the standard Android keyboard with a few minor changes, because it is Swift key, like your numbers are to this side and you have your characters on that side. You can also do more characters like that. And you also have the Swift key voice input, which I'm going to show you how that works. Unlike ice cream sandwich, Swift key will transcribe it after and give you three different options on what you could have possibly have meant. So it gives you three different options. So it doesn't, it gives you all the possible things that you could have been saying. Unlike ice cream sandwiches voice input, which will highlight certain words and certain characters and gives you the option of changing it that way. So it's a little bit different, but overall, I found that both keyboards work fairly well on this device thanks to the size of the screen. Works both in portrait and landscape, and they are both easy to type. As far as web browsing on the Pantech Discover goes, you have two options out of the box. You have the Pantech web browser, as you can see here, has tabs up top. This is a WebKit-based browser. Tab viewing, pinch to zooming works fairly well on it. It has stuttered at times, and it's running my page oddly, which I'm not too sure why, but it is. But the cool thing is Flash is actually built in. This is the CNET bandwidth meter, and it is a Flash-based meter. And as you can see, Flash does work. So Flash is actually built into the Pantech browser. So if you are into using Flash-based websites, that is nice to know that there is a Flash-enabled browser on this device, and you don't need to actually download Adobe Flash to do it. You can't now because this was released after Adobe stops supporting new Android devices for Flash. There is also Chrome, which does not support Flash. It is a HTML5-based web browser. Chrome, you can access different pages by either tapping there or swiping from edge to edge. You have to do exactly at the edge to swipe pages. But both browsers work pretty well, but it's also nice to have a browser with Flash built into it. Hopefully that stays when this device gets bumped to Jelly Bean. Taking a look at the camera interface on the Pantech Discover, there's a lot going on here. On this side we have a switch to change from the 12.6 megapixel autofocus camera in the rear to the 2 megapixel fixed focus camera up front. Below that we have a switch to change from taking still images to panoramic shots to video. Right here is the on-screen shutter button. There is no physical shutter button on this device. Underneath the shutter button is a button to switch from taking a normal shot to a HDR, or high dynamic range shot. What that does is it takes 3 images at different exposure levels to combine them and produce one image. Underneath that we have a preview of the last image taken. Taking a look at the left side, we have right now 3 icons. These are customizable, so you can choose which settings you need quick access to and put those right on that side bar over there. I like that because it gives you quick access to the settings you use the most, so it allows you a little bit of customization in the camera. As far as your options go, you can change the exposure level, control the white balance. For focus, you have touch and tracking focus. What tracking focus does is once you tap on the subject, it will keep a lock on that subject. So if you're taking pictures of a moving child, the child will stay in focus no matter where they move, as long as you have them in the shot. The camera will continue tracking that person. So that's kind of cool, especially when you're trying to take pictures of your kids or anything like that. You can change the resolution of the image from 12.6 all the way down to a 0.3 megapixel image. As far as shooting modes go, you have your normal shot mode, you have best face, which will allow you to take a picture. When you take a picture of a group of people, you can change the faces, take several shots at once, and allows you to choose which face looks best to create your image. You have instant film, which will give you a Polaroid-like image with the border and the image, the white area down on the bottom, and it dates it and allows you to take notes on the picture. And then you have Division, which will take 4 shots and then basically put them together in a collage. As far as effects go, you have your normal color effects such as grayscale, sepia, and aqua, but you also have color picker. So this allows you to pick which color you want to actually be visible. So say I only want blue visible, and everything else becomes black and white, but you can clearly see the blue. And same thing will happen if I say want green visible. You also have this bar on the bottom, so you can slide and choose how dark a certain color has to be in order for it to register. So say I want the pink of that grenade pen to register. I see there's no pink here. If I choose red, you still don't see it, but if I slide that bar over, now it becomes visible. The pink in both pens become visible as soon as you start sliding it over, because it's choosing how red the color has to be for it to show up in the image. You also have the option of just tapping on a subject and having that color be the only color to show up. Of course, you do have to slide the bar to change the intensity, but it is kind of cool, and also detects the color. So that's kind of cool, and it's kind of neat that it can actually detect the color and change the intensity that way. As far as the rest of your settings go, you can change the review duration, you can turn voice recognition on and off, so that allows you to voice control the camera, turn GPS on and off, turn the shutter sound on and off, and also turn on the grid, which allows you to grid, so it makes it easier to line up shots. And then you can also change where the images are stored if you have a SD card in the device. As far as image quality goes, I have to say it's okay. You would think having a 12.6 megapixel camera that you'd get these awesome, very detailed images, but they're not as detailed as you would think. Overall, they're just okay. Not that much different from a 5 megapixel or 8 megapixel camera on other devices. The color accuracy is okay. Once you get it off the device, you're not going to notice the bluish tint on your whites. But yeah, overall, I'd have to say it's just okay quality images. As far as video goes, this phone can capture full high def video, so that is 1920 by 1080. However, you do have to go into the settings when you jump into the camera to switch to full high def. By default, it is set on 720. I'm not too sure what made them decide to do that, but they did. But you can switch to full high def by just simply tapping there. As far as effects go, you have a lot of the effects you would see on a stock Android camera. So you have the color effects, turn time-lapse on and off. You can have face effects. You can squeeze the face, give a person big eyes, give them small eyes, give them a big mouth or a small mouth, or give them a big nose. And you also have backgrounds. So it's going to actually keep the camera still, and then it's going to produce a sunset image behind the person or whatever subject you're videotaping. So that's kind of cool, and it's nice that you have access to some of the things that you would find on a stock build of Android. As far as video quality goes, the video was a little bit grainy at times. Frame rates were decent. However, like I said, the video is pretty grainy at times. It fits along with the image quality. Sound was not bad. Color reproduction is not bad. Focusing is not bad. It does support tap to focus, and you can zoom in while recording. But overall, it's just okay, which is a little sad when you think about having a 12.16 megapixel camera on a device. The Pantech Discover is powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 chipset. So this is the MSN 8960 chipset, so that has a 1.5 GHz dual-core Crate CPU and a Adreno 225 GPU. There is a gig of RAM on board, though the phone only has access to 652 megabytes of that gig of RAM, and there are 16 gigs of onboard storage, though you only have access to 12.24 gigabytes of that 16 gigs of storage. As far as performance goes, I had little to no issues with it. There's a slight noticeable lag. It happens every once in a while, but for most part, this phone did react really quickly. I did have issues doing 3D gaming, especially when I was playing Mass Effect. I found that 10 minutes into the game, it would freeze, and this happened constantly. Let's say 10-15 minutes. Sometimes I was able to get a little bit longer before it froze, but every time the game would freeze. You still could access the rest of the phone, but for some odd reason it just kept crashing. When I did go back to the home screen, I found that the home screen was resetting. So it might be the fact that you don't have a large amount of RAM available, or it could be that there's an issue with the game in this device. But either way, Mass Effect, so 3D gaming is going to be iffy on this device after my test with Mass Effect. As far as call quality goes, I found that I didn't have any issues losing signal on this device. Callers said I was very clear and had no issues hearing me. However, I did have an issue hearing callers, and I'd like to think that it was just this unit. What I heard was while they were talking, the speaker was moving around. I felt you get this weird reverb from it, and you can hear them clearly enough, but you get this weird reverb at the end, which was kind of like a staticky, annoying sound. And it wasn't the network, so it wasn't static when it was silent. It was just literally once the sound level reached a certain point that the speaker would be moving around. Through the speakers on the side, talking about the speakers on the earpiece with that issue. Speakers on the side are very loud, very clear, no issues whatsoever. I do love how they place the speakers, because it doesn't block any of the sound when you have the phone on a flat surface. So I do like the speakers on the loudspeakers on this device. As far as data speeds go, this is a LTE device running on AT&T's LTE network, where available. If you don't have AT&T's LTE, you're going to fall back on their HSPA Plus network. I fortunately live in a LTE coverage area, and LTE coverage in this area is good. Data speeds on this phone were amazing. We're talking about 20 to 35 megabits per second down, and between 10 and 14 megabits per second on the upload. Ping times are very quick, so it doesn't take much time for the phone to start receiving information after you send the request, and it receives information very quickly. So if you live in an LTE area, you're going to expect some very fast data speeds from this device. As far as battery life goes, that's another topic. It has a 1250 milliamp hour battery in this device, and during my use as such, with moderate use, I had no issues getting through a day with the battery. With my longest battery test, I was able to get 1 day and 1 day and 14 hours out of this device. So that is pretty good, especially with an LTE device. I think part of this, the fact that it's Snapdragon chipset, you have the nice power management system that Qualcomm uses on their Snapdragon chipsets. You have LTE and HSPA Plus, which doesn't conflict power-wise with, when you have like something like LTE and CDMA, you have two different networks, two different types of radios trying to suck up energy. So I found that the battery life on this was good, even with things constantly being sent to this device. I had my Facebook, I have Twitter being sent to this device, I have 3 different email accounts, and even with all that, the battery life on this was really good. So expect some good battery life with moderate usage out of the Pantech Discover. Despite only being $50 on a new contract with AT&T, there's not too many signs that this is a budget phone. It has a high-def display, 12 megapixel camera, the latest in connectivity options, and a blazing fast LTE network behind it. However, things like its subpar viewing angles on the screen and so-so image qualities brings back the fact that this is a budget phone. But for $50, you aren't getting a bad device. For the full in-depth review of the Pantech Discover, head over to the site, boymeetsphone.com. Remember to follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/boymeetsphone, and to like the Facebook page at facebook.com/boymeetsphone. This is Yasarin from Boy Meets Phone. Thanks for watching.